Good morning to you once again, and welcome to another wonderful time here on Splash 105.5 FM, the most listened to radio station in the southwest of the country, your integrity station here from the city of Ibadan. We welcome you and we thank you very much for choosing us this morning. I'm your host, Ronke Giwa-Onafuwa, and it's going to be a great time with me. We're having an interesting conversation that I really do hope that I will take about 10 minutes after I've spoken to my guest to take your reactions and contributions with regards to what he said and with regards some of the things that's going to come up during this conversation. Now, imagine a world in Nigeria where political office holders are groomed. You know what I mean? So groomed, and not necessarily that people just wake up and decide, oh, I want to, run in an election, or I want to govern, the nation. I want to be a governor. I want to be a local government chairman. I want to be a president. Imagine a Nigeria where people who govern us are actually groomed, actually go through a school. I was reading an article recently, and my guest is the author of this article. I saw it online. And he said, imagine walking into a hospital and being told that the operating surgeon has never had a single day of training or preparation for the job. Or perhaps stepping on an aircraft and hearing over the passenger address system that the captain has always wanted to be a pilot but has never received formal training, yet wants to take your flight for a spin. Such is the wishful thinking that undergirds the political careers of many of those that lead us. So I'm going to be talking to him about that. But I want you to just, ponder on that. And, for example, in certain countries, I know that some of them groom certain children, let them go to certain schools because they already, envisage that they'll be towing the lines of their forefathers or grandfathers in, politically. They already know that, this child I'm having is going to be the president. So they start to groom them. That's not something that really happens in this part of the world. People have turned politics into a career even, whereby maybe they were not really doing much before they fall into politics, and then it becomes a do or die affair because they're holding on with all of their might to this position. And I'm going to be having this conversation because it's so important. A lot of things are happening in the country these days. We're constantly talking about the insecurity issues in the country. We're constantly talking about inflation. We're talking about all of the ills in a society. And sometimes it feels like our government isn't listening. There are so many sides to government. Public relations is part of government. Communication is part of governance. Empathy is a huge part of governance. But sometimes it feels like, our political office holders, just do not know what to do about certain things. So we're going to walk down this imaginary lane of having a school where people who have ambitions, political ambitions, actually go to learn about the Constitution, to learn about the states they want to govern, to learn about history, to learn about the people, to learn empathy, to learn emotional intelligence, to learn public relations, etc. Do you think would have, better leaders? Do you think we'll have people who are governing us who do a better job, perhaps if they are trained, perhaps if they are groomed? Okay, so I'm going to bring my guest up. Just hang on for a moment. He's actually a Nigerian that lives in a diaspora. He's very passionate about Nigeria, and I'm really excited to have this chat with him. And he's also someone who's been through some sort of school. He lives in a diaspora, but very passionate about Nigerian economy, very passionate about what's going on in the country. And it's exciting that I'll be having this chat with him today. He's a passionate Nigerian, an African, political enthusiast, an accomplished professional. And he holds an MBA with distinction from the University of Cambridge, United Kingdom, and was recognized among the 100 best and brightest executive MBAs globally in 2020. He's currently a member of the pioneer cohort of the new Unconventional School of Politics, Policy and Governance, that's SPPG, which resulted from the hashtag Fix Politics initiative. So just going to give me a moment. I'll bring him on in a second. All right. Good morning, Ayobami Olunloyo. Good morning. Okay, I anticipated that we might have some technical hitches, so just give us a second while we try and figure out, I can't hear you at the moment, but let me try and figure out why that is. So just hold on. We're also keeping our fingers crossed that we will not have any communication issues this morning. Good morning, Ayobami.
Good morning, Ronke.
Oh, fantastic. Great. I can hear you clearly as well. I'm doing great. Thank you very much for joining me on the program today.
It's a pleasure to be with you. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. And I just read your profile, and it is very impressive, Ayobami, and we're really glad to have you here. Also exciting that, even though you don't live in Nigeria, you're still very passionate about what's going on in Nigeria. And so I guess for starters, what are your thoughts on how Nigeria is currently, the insecurity issues and the issues that obviously Nigeria is having to grapple with at the moment? How, for example, people who live in the diaspora, how do you see what's happening in the country?
Thank you so much. It's a great pleasure to be with you and your listeners. And to go straight to that question, Ronke, it's actually it's difficult because it's a very painful experience to see Nigeria in the state that she's in. It isn't a thing of joy at all. And people tend to believe that people in the diaspora don't feel these things or they are remote from them. It isn't actually the case. I have family. I lived in Nigeria, and in a sense, I come to Nigeria quite often, and I'm very connected to Nigeria. And it's my intention, one day to be back home. And what I find in all these things that are going on, it's really sad because 211 million people, being in a place where there's so much danger, insecurity, food insecurity, some of the most basic things that human beings need. And we don't have them, or we don't have the resources, but simply because we have mismanaged, we have, frittered away the resources that we've been blessed with. And these are things that are down to leadership, I believe. So it's really challenging because I have people who are there, you were there, 211 million other people are there. And that pain is palpable. It's real. Absolutely. So it's not a remote thing. It's, there are many people abroad who care deeply about Nigeria. And I'd love to believe that I'm one of them.
Absolutely. Yeah. People, even still today, people are living in droves trying to go to Canada. But, one thing that...
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me, Ayobami? Hello, can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me? I can hear you.
Okay, I can hear you now.
Great.
I lost you. Yeah, I
okay.
can hear you now.
So I was saying that, people are still living in droves. There's a lot of brain drain happening in Nigeria now. But the thing that we must all remember is no matter how far you go, you still have somebody here. And so something would tie you back to Nigeria, which will make you concerned, for the country. So, you're right about how even though people are living outside of the country, there's something must connect you. You can't bring your take your entire family with you. There will be somebody or something that connects you back to home, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Just to add to that, part of it for me is not so much the fact that I have people there. My heart is drawn towards Nigeria. It's more the fact that I myself want to be in Nigeria. I want to be a part of what's going on. I want to be a part of shaping what is the future. And that future is in our hands. It's difficult and there's so many challenges, but I don't think they're insurmountable. I think they can be fixed. But it takes a lot of will. From the populace, from the polity, it takes will politically as well.
Right.
And these are not things that other nations haven't done. Other nations have succeeded in solving similar challenges. Right. Nigeria is very complex. We must accept that. But there are other nations that are just as complex.
Absolutely.
So we cannot put our hands on and say, our problems are unique. We cannot fix them and all that. We have to. So I hear you when you say that there's connection to Nigeria in terms of people who are there and so on. But for me personally, and I'm sure I speak for many people, there is desire to actually be there as well, which is more than just feeling for your people who are there.
Right.
You see what I mean?
Absolutely.
And for me, I'm here for a seat. I'm not here for the rest of my life. By God's grace, that's not my desire.
You hope to come back home to Nigeria someday.
Absolutely. But you see, Ronke, the thing is that while I'm here, it's an opportunity to gain experience, expertise, knowledge, and things that I take very, very seriously. I'm very acutely aware that the opportunity I have to be abroad is something that, many more people don't have.
The privilege.
So that draws me to take it even more seriously and not take it for granted. Because one day, you're right, I will return to the land of my fathers. And I think it's important to come back to give back. I think, that's a responsibility I hold very dearly.
Absolutely. I can imagine people here just saying, don't do it. Don't do it. But, well, I mean, passion and enthusiasm. We love your passion. We love your enthusiasm. We really do need
people. So, I'm not sure if you're speaking because I'm not hearing you.
Oh, okay. Yes, I am speaking. I'm wondering. I think there's a bit of a delay. So just hang on with me a moment. I'm saying that, I'm sure there are people who are listening to you and thinking, don't do it. Don't come back, because I hear that all the time. Can you hear me, Ayobami?
I can hear you.
Okay, great.
I think that's the delay, but
yes.
I will just delay each time, so that's fine. I'll stay with the delay.
Absolutely. All right, let me dive in real quickly, because I read your article. It was actually shared by my cousin, thanks cuz, on her WhatsApp, and I read the article, and your article was sort of talking about how you just completed this course or some training at the School of Politics.
It's actually ongoing.
Okay, still ongoing.
Oh,
and fantastic.
Yeah.
And I started thinking to myself, I mean, if all of our political office holders went through some sort of training or grooming, do you think that we'll have better people governing the nation? Would you think that we'll have people who are governing the nation better? Let me put it that way, Ayobami.
I think it's a brilliant question, Ronke. We are definitely in a situation where we have to realize that being a politician is indeed a profession. Mm-hmm. It is. And like any other profession, there should be training for the job.
Sure.
Ronke, you do a fabulous job on Splash FM, right?
Thank you.
And somebody must have interviewed you, or absolutely you do. And someone you must have sat in front of someone and said, this is what I have to offer, and they thought you were fit for the job. You see what I mean? Politics, in a sense that a lot of the skills maybe you pick up along the way of life: charisma, public speaking, leadership qualities, compassion, integrity. Hopefully you learned a bit of that even from home. You see what I mean?
Yes.
But there are formal skills needed to govern a nation in the 21st century. You see what I mean? For example, economics, evidence-based policy making, diplomacy, financial management, budgeting, like innovation in governance. What are other governments doing? Regional, international treaties. These are things that are important to know for us to be able to govern effectively.
True.
Now, even if these things were taught in schools, okay, even if they were all taught in schools, and it was through our education system, how many pieces of falsified academic credentials do we? We've had many leaders at various levels.
Yes.
Who are we cannot have Nigerians be used as a test bed to demonstrate people's lack of capacity in these areas. If you see what I mean.
Yes.
The nation. So yes, I do believe that some sort of formalization and of the prerequisite knowledge to be able to effectively and efficiently hold office, I think is required in my opinion.
Right. Right. But some people will say that actually may be a problem, because we find that politicians in Nigeria see politics as a career. So someone who wasn't perhaps maybe really doing much, or maybe they were doing much, abandon what they were doing and then focus on politics. So they have this knack for holding on and making it a do or die affair. They feel like, hey, politics, in fact, governing in Nigeria or holding a political office should be a part-time thing, whereby you have something else you're doing. So it doesn't feel like somebody has been in the Senate and they want to continue in the Senate. Then they become a governor. Then from governor, they go back to Senate. And then, so Nigerians feel that this is a problem in itself, that public office should actually be a part-time thing as opposed to focusing on it as a profession, which is something you've mentioned. Ayobami. Okay, we still have a bit of a delay, so let's hold on for him to... like I said, my guest is Ayobami Olunloyo, and he's all the way in the United Kingdom, and where I'm having this conversation about with him. Hello, Ayobami, can you still hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, great.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, so I think I caught the question. It was cutting out a little bit later, but I think I got the gist of the question.
Yes.
So you were talking about do or die affair, right?
Yes.
And people having part-time.
Absolutely.
Politics should be part-time.
Yes.
But Ronke, think about it, right? If your airline pilot, it was a part-time thing, he was just doing it when he felt like. No retraining each year, no benchmarking to best practice. Even you, as a fantastic radio show host, you understand, not learning what's new in the industry.
True.
You
Innovation, right?
Not keeping up with it. But Ronke, somehow we find it acceptable that the people who lead us should do it part-time and it not be their entire focus.
Right.
Now, I can understand about maybe people coming from the private sector, people who have served, in some sort of maybe business capacity, then they come into politics. But when they do, what greater good is there than to serve the people, than to serve the nation? This is what people give their lives to in other nations. But we somehow think that this is acceptable, that
someone can just strolling, right?
Just do it. Yeah, just strolling on the side and just do it, and then that's okay to lead a nation. You see what I mean? So, to people who think that, what I would say is that I do agree that politics is a career. It should be. But politics is the means. The real career is public service. Yeah? The problem is that for a long time, people have gone into politics not to serve.
Right.
Can you still hear me, Ronke?
Yes, I can hear you now. Okay,
brilliant. So I was saying that, it's not that it's a do or die affair. I don't think that's the key issue. It is the fact that, if it was a do or die affair, that people were fighting for the poor and the vulnerable, or they were fighting to get insecurity, and it was a do or die affair to get to be the person who deals with the challenges, then it would be okay. But the reason why the do or die, factor is not a good thing is because people are fighting to hold on to power and to control resources. Yeah? With almost nothing to give back in return.
Right.
Yeah? That's why people are prepared to fight to the death. Democracy should be a government of the people, by the people, for the people.
Right.
We have practiced a government of some by themselves for their own.
Yes.
Yeah? So those who have nothing else to do, like you say, it's because they never had the interest of the people. It was always about themselves.
Right.
Ronke, think about this. Who honestly can look around now in Nigeria, right, and say there's nothing to do? Yeah?
Yes.
If anyone wants to contribute to nation building, we use nation building.
Yes.
Okay. Forget nation, local government building, or even village building. If you want to do any of that, there is a lot to do.
There's lots of problems to solve. Lots of problems to solve. Okay, we've lost Ayobami's there. Okay. Okay, well, let's hopefully wait for him. Let's wait for him and get him back. This is one of the problems. Yes, hello. Hi, Ayobami, are you still there?
See, with each other people. You don't even.
Okay. All right, just hang on with us. Yes, just hang on a second. We're struggling with the connection here for a bit. Are you still there, Ayobami?
I can hear you.
Okay, great. Okay, so we're going in and out, and I think you're talking about how there are lots of problems. So anybody who really wants to serve doesn't have to even go into politics. Should that be a criteria for even electing?
Absolutely.
2023 is around the corner. People who we are electing, should we be looking at what have they done, even when they didn't have a political office, to hold? What were they doing for the people?
Exactly. And Ronke, that tells us where their heart is. Yeah? Because if you want to solve problems, you don't need an
office
to do that.
That's so true.
If you want more capacity, more opportunity, more. If you want the how do you call them? The instruments of state to be able to scale your solutions and deal with bigger issues.
Right.
Then fine, run for office. But don't say to me that I have nothing to do. So politics is the thing. I go into it to go and do whatever. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And let me just say this. I'm sure your listeners, they subscribe to different holy books. But if I borrow from the Bible, there's an illustration of faith as the mustard seed, the moving mountain. What I want to say to that, to add to that, Ronke, is that even if, compassion just as small as that is found in our politicians,
True.
yeah, it can change the plight of millions.
Absolutely. And people often have this argument about what really is the problem, Nigeria or Nigerians, because we find that you've talked about how we're such a resourceful country, and also our people seem to thrive in more developed countries. You, for example, hold an MBA with a distinction from the University of Cambridge, and recognized among the 100 best and brightest executive MBAs globally in 2020. So what would you say is the problem, Nigeria or Nigerians, Ayobami?
Ronke, it's definitely not Nigerians. And we can almost prove that empirically. Okay. Because Nigerians are all over the world doing fantastic and amazing things. If the problem was Nigerians, then they wouldn't succeed anywhere.
True.
But Nigerians are at the top of everything all over the world and doing great. So the problem is, first of all, in Nigeria. Yeah? But is the problem Nigeria itself? Okay, I don't think so. The problem, I think Chinua Achebe's book, The Trouble with Nigeria, I'm sure you're familiar with that book. He has answered that question for us very simply and very squarely. The problem with Nigeria is
leadership.
Yeah?
But is it not the same Nigerians that then eventually get into leadership position and Nigerians will can
leadership?
Yes.
The of leadership is to create an enabling environment where everyone can thrive. The environment where everyone can thrive. The people that thrive.
Where we left off, Ayobami was talking about the problem with leadership. The problem is not with Nigerians. The problem with leadership, but then that also calls for the question: the people who are now leading are the people who are, average Nigerians, average Joes like you and I, who now eventually get there, and it feels like, the person who you think, was doing great in the private sector, then gets into, office, and it's a totally different ballgame. You see another side to the person, and it feels like, okay, but this person was doing great in the private sector. Why is it that, so can he, perhaps if he can hear me, is also a problem of the system. And I was going to talk to him about the Constitution. Like, it's still beyond the surface. And we're fantasizing on if there was like a school that politicians had to go to learn governance and to learn the different facets of governance. Do you think that would have, a better case of leadership in Nigeria and people governing, like how you would have a professional in any field? A lawyer, for example, has to go to law school. A pilot has to go to flying school. A doctor has to go to medical school. A political office holder, perhaps, what do they need to do? And we're going to talk about that a bit more with my guest, Ayobami Olunloyo. All right, welcome back to Beyond the Surface on Splash 105.5 FM. I'm your host, Ronke Giwa-Onafuwa. Thank you very much for your patience. For those who joined us from the beginning when we started this conversation, it's been such an interesting conversation, and I've found another means to get Ayobami back. But for those who are just joining us, you missed a lot, but there's still so much to learn from this conversation I'm having with him. My guest is Ayobami Olunloyo, a passionate Nigerian and African political enthusiast and accomplished professional. He holds an MBA with a distinction from the University of Cambridge, United Kingdom, and was recognized among the 100 best and brightest executive MBAs globally in 2020. He's currently a member of the pioneer cohort of the new Unconventional School of Politics, Policy and Governance, SPPG, which resulted from the Fix-It Politics initiative. It's actually an initiative of Mrs. Obi Esekwesili. So I've got Ayobami back here. Hi, Ayobami.
Hi, Ronke.
Oh, great. This is much clearer. Thank you very much for your patience, and thank you for being here with me today. Where we left off was where you were talking about the fact that Nigeria is not the problem, Nigerians are not the problem, but leadership is the problem. And I was saying, a lot of people will say that, but the leadership makes up the people. And we found that people who even excel in the private sector get into Nigerian politics, and it's like, what? They become such a colossal failure, and we are wondering, perhaps maybe it's the system.
Yes, you make a great point. I think the system is a lot to do with it.
Okay.
But also, the best of Nigerians don't get involved in our politics.
Sure.
That's another challenge. The fact that we have people who are highly accomplished, capable of great feats, but they don't get involved in our politics.
Sure.
We leave our politics to the people who, decide to go into it for reasons that are far less than altruistic. But I think the challenge as well is that, where, we have issues as basic, and I say basic relatively, forgive me, as things like power, which limits development, insecurity, there's hunger in the land. These are not recipes for success. But all these things are the things that government is there and exists to fix, or better still, to avoid, you know? So if we don't fix our leadership, we cannot fix our country.
Absolutely.
And you're absolutely right in the sense that some people go, you know, and say, you know, the leaders come from the people. True. But what you know, value, you know, what caliber of our people are they want to in the government? That's another question.
Sure.
So, you know, are we putting the best of our people? Because in any society, there are people in, you know, in stratas of society, if you see what I mean. There's no country that doesn't have a thief or something like that, if you see what I mean.
Yes.
But, you know, who puts their, you know, I'm not saying anyone. I mean, people have gone into office and, you know, done things they shouldn't have done. You know, taking public funds when they shouldn't have and stuff like that. But the point I'm making is that there are people, and I still believe there are Nigerians, who wouldn't do that.
Sure.
But they don't run for office. It's one thing not to vote, but it's a totally different, you know, major issue to not run.
Right.
And that's one of our biggest challenges, I think, as well.
Now, and I mean, I came in contact with your blog, which is where I read, and I thought I needed to have this conversation with you. And you talked about attending the unconventional school of politics, policy, and governance. And it sounds nice, but a lot of people would ask how realistic is, because even when we go to university, we find that when we're in the real world, a lot of the things that we learn in school are not really relatable to what's happening in the real world. So if we're asking politicians to be groomed or go through some sort of training, you know, go to a school where they can learn about politics, how realistic will it be taking what they've learned to, you know, let's say a place like Ibadan, where people have even said at some point we're practicing what they called amala politics, you know, so it's about how many people you can give amala or how many people you can feed. Thankfully, we've sort of evolved from that a little bit, but how realistic is what one learns in a school of politics as to what exactly really happens in Nigerian politics?
That's a great question. I think, you know, Ronke, I think it's extremely important. And when we hear the word school, we probably think theory and sitting there in the classroom and being told things that you may very well never apply. You know, I'm an engineer by profession, you know, and I don't work in core engineering these days, but the principles I learned from engineering are very key in my profession. You see what I mean?
Yes.
But, you know, you make a good point. So Nigeria is indeed a complex place, but it is not ungovernable. Yeah? That is more so why prospective leaders ought to be prepared for the challenge.
Yes.
You know, frankly, many of our leaders wing it.
True.
They just hope for the best.
Yes.
You see what I mean?
By God's grace. By God's grace, leadership.
Yes. And we all, I thank God, I believe in God very strongly. My faith is a very big part of my life.
Right.
But God has also given us a brain for a reason.
Absolutely.
Especially in a world that has solutions on tap. Yeah, there are nations that have gone on the journey that we're on, and they've shown that it's doable. Singapore did it. We started together. We're well behind them now. The thing is that, you see, the teaching at the SPPG, the School of Politics and Governance, it's not theoretical at all. That is the beauty. That's why, you know, the word unconventional in front of it is actually quite key. It's not theoretical at all. It is based on the actual Nigerian experience and taught by people who have and are living it. You see, there are matters of governance that people may never come across except someone puts it down and explains it. Yeah? There are Nigerians today, okay, who are eligible to vote. They've come to the eligibility of voting, yeah? But they don't really understand what the June 12 struggle was all about. Yeah? In countries like the US, politics runs through the core of life, even in schools.
Right.
So for those who are interested, they're intimated with the issues of the day and the government's response, and it's a part of their way of life. So when they come to the point where they're running for office, it's not, let me just go and see what I can do. Yeah?
Oh, I have money.
Nigeria,
I have money to throw around so people can.
Money. Let me get to my money. Let me add power. You get it?
Yes.
So in Nigeria, young people are essentially barred from the political space rather than being encouraged into it. That's why we have all this sort of things, initiatives, fantastic words like not too young to run and things like that. But we really need that. We have to be saying not too young to run. Yes? So it is for the lack of equipping our leaders with the right knowledge and testing. Testing them to establish their capacity that we find ourselves where we are.
Yeah.
So let me give you this example. So when my school, my school, SPPG, gives me the opportunity as a student to question the very military head of state who heralded in the Fourth Republic that we are in now. And I can hear from him directly the story behind the Constitution that many people are agitating about today and what led to that moment in 1999 when we switched from a dictatorship back to democracy.
Yes.
I would certainly say, Ronke, that that's not theoretical at all. That is learning from the horse's mouth It is as practical as it gets. Having these opportunities to speak to people, and so it's not class, blackboard talk, and all that kind of stuff. It's real, understanding of the dynamics and what led us to where we are. You mentioned about Amala politics. What a phrase! Very interesting. So you see, studying in an institution, as you say, does it prepare us for different dynamics? You see, the truth is, if it is required that if we want to have a nation that sets standards, rather than one that follows trends.
Right.
If you want to be the leader, Amala politics is not something to be proud of. It is a stain on how low we have dragged the Nigerian people. To the point that feeding people is enough to sell their birthright. That should really make us think. How destitute and how desperate must people be that seeking a meal is enough for them to vote for you? Anyone who gives that meal is, in my opinion, not only the problem, but they are not very kind.
Because you're giving a man fish as opposed to teaching him how to fish.
Absolutely. You understand? And you enjoy giving him the fish because you know you
like the control. Absolutely.
And you can control him or her. You understand? So what studying in an institution gives one? A mechanism to build a society for shared growth and prosperity, so that everyone is carried along. No one is left behind. Right. Even if we look at indices like GDP, GDP is a function of the productivity of the entire nation. Even if you didn't improve the quality of what people were doing, the more people, just by increasing numbers of people who are active in our economy, will increase our GDP, not even quality, or forget quality. So what's my point? If you leave nobody behind and give everybody something to do and increase prosperity, we all move forward. But no, that's not good enough because some people want to move forward alone. So for as long as we weaponize poverty,
yes,
and lack of education, then we maintain a status quo where Amala is all people can hope for, and that is that.
Absolutely. I mean, I think. Yes.
Yeah, go on, Ronke.
No, go on. Studying in an institution, you were saying.
I mean, just a few more points. I was just going to say that studying in an institution provides data. It helps us to understand the dynamics of the terrain. And, and it does not produce, it doesn't reduce us to mere guessing, but just guessing about what we should do next. So, for example, there's a statement I learned recently, and I think you will find it very powerful.
Right. The
statement says, it was from one of our professors on the course, Dr. Amina Sali, a fantastic lady. She said, poverty wears the face of a woman. Yeah? So what I want to bring out is that we know we have a poverty problem in Nigeria, but it takes deeper analysis to be able to understand who it affects most and how.
Exactly.
Yeah? So Amala politics may have brought us so far, but depending on where, and call it different in so much infrastructure, all these things, yeah? But depending on where we want to go, it cannot take us much further. And we need leaders who can take us to where this nation truly deserves to be in the League of Nations.
Absolutely. I mean, I had more questions, but I've taken more time than I promised or that I asked for. So I want to say a big thank you to you, Ayobami, for being here and for talking to me today. And I really appreciate. I don't know what your ambitions are. You've talked about coming home and doing something here in Nigeria. Well, I wish you all the best with that. And I want to say thank you. Thank you so much for talking to me today.
Thank you so much, Ronke. It's really a pleasure. And my great thanks to your listeners as well and all at Splash FM. God bless you.
Absolutely. God bless you. Thank you very much and have a wonderful day. All right, I've just spoken to Ayobami Olunloyo.